Hey guys, welcome back to Danger Planet. This is Doug. I'm here with Brady, as always. And today we're going to be starting out our sectorial overview segment with a rundown of the Onyx Contact Force for Combined Army. Hey guys, welcome back to the Danger Planet. This is Doug. I'm here with Brady. Brady, say hello to the internet.
Hi, internet.
Yo, hey internet, what's up?
It's me, your boy.
It's me, your boy Brady with the blue mohawk. So today we're going to be doing the first video in an ongoing video series for Danger Planet, where we're going to be bringing in folks that are specific experts in various sectorials, and we're going to start with Brady's favorite sectorial, the one that he's playing right now. It's a combined army sectorial for Onyx Contact Force. So the goal of these videos, guys, is going to be to deliver about roughly a half an hour overview or less of each of the sectorials within the Infinity game system. And the hope is that over time, we're going to bring in different experts in their various factions in their various sectorials, and they're going to give a little bit of an overview about basically what is the general overview of this sectorial? How do you play it? What are factions that you like to bring into your lists when you're playing it? What are ways that you like to be successful with it? Are there any trials and tribulations associated? So you'll see that from us, and hopefully you guys enjoy this one. So I guess the first place to start, Brady, is at the beginning. Can you give us a very high-level TLDR 5-minute elevator pitch on who the Onyx Contact Force are, how they slot into the overall CA strategy, just very, very high level. And then we'll kind of get into the units from there, if that's okay.
Yeah, so the Onyx Contact Force, when the Combined Army goes out into the universe and discovers a new race that is going to get brought into the Involved Intelligence's divine embrace, they send out the Onyx Contact Force. They're the ones who get to go and tell the new alien species, do not resist. You're being rescued. Do not resist.
Wow.
And if they say no, they're also the force that is usually the first one that goes, okay, we will show you we will show you the force part of the Combined Army. So in like the broadest sense, the Onyx Contact Forces, the special forces, they are really the not always the most elite of the elite, but this is essentially what the Combined Army brings forward to have a little bit of all their main forces. They are very adaptable. The idea is that they can be sent out and be solo operatives and go out and just bring the Evolved Intelligence's will to these individuals. And if they're not in line, they eventually can bring in like the larger Morat fighting forces or your Shazvasti forces. But they really are the special forces, they're shock troopers, the ones that kind of make that first contact and are allowed to talk. And so like kind of to leverage into that from like the lore side, and to kind of when we were talking about units, the main ones, like the face that like people would know about would be the Umbra. And you have and I love the Umbra. They were one of the reasons I got into Onyx Contact. I think
Those
they're
models
just
look so cool,
gorgeous models.
They look so cool.
Yeah, like it's just like crazy, crazy aliens with swords. It was just like, oh, these look amazing.
They kind of remind
the Umbra
me.
Are basically like the face.
Yeah.
Oh,
They're like
ahead,
the
sorry.
leader, right? Well, I was gonna say, I love their aesthetic, and when I was looking at this range, I knew that you were playing CA, right? Because when we first started talking about Infinity, you're like, hey man, I'm on CA, and when you first said that, I didn't really know what it meant, and then I started looking through their model range, and I was like, oh, this makes a lot of sense why Brady likes these guys, because you're self-proclaimed, you love playing the bad guys, right? Like that's your thing. You're playing the bad guys, and like,
yeah,
the
they
evil...
just look evil and intimidating.
Yeah, dude. Like the Legion, the Umbras look like they were plucked out of a sci-fi movie as the big baddie, basically. So.
Yes, and so the Umbra on the tabletop are a very interesting piece because they're a light infantry piece that's very, very expensive. But how they kind of make up for that is they're one of the units in the army, or at least some of their profiles have Promethean, which is pretty unique to the Combined Army in general. And what Promethean is, whenever you do a wound in close combat to something that has wounds and not structure, you gain an extra wound up to, like, I think twice your max wounds. So these guys can come in, and once they start killing things, they start generating wounds for themselves. And then you start getting this vicious cycle of like, oh, I'll just walk up to your dude. I don't care if I get a shotgun blast. I have 3 wounds right now. And if I get to you, I'll heal that wound back. So what you'll see is, you know, they are potentially one of your main focal points. The other main focal point, I would say, in Onyx Contact is their tags. A lot of armies like their tags, but the Onyx Contact Sectorial really specializes in is their fire teams. Basically every single tag except the Sphinx can be brought in at least a duo, and some of them can be brought even as Harrises, so you can get that extra burst, which is really, really powerful. Especially considering they're not the biggest tags in the universe. You're not getting to bring the Avatar or those really big tags. You're bringing these about 50 to 60 point medium tags. So bringing them in a group of 2 with, you know, and so one of the Harrises that I really like bringing, and I'm trying to experiment a lot more with, is 2 Xeodrones and an Umbra. And these things just push hard into the middle with super jump, because the tag also has super jump. And you just push hard into the middle and just start raining death. And it's very hard for anyone they can't move into melee. That's a very common way to deal with a tag, is you go into melee with it because they're bad in melee. Well, he got his Umbra buddy right next to him, who's martial arts level 5 with at least CC 23. So he's probably better in close combat with you, unless you're like JSA or like Steel Phalanx, certainly, you know, Achilles and Steel Phalanx. He's probably better in melee than you. So he can babysit and defend the tags as they're just raining death. The other main unit you'll see a lot in Onyx Contact Force is the Humble Unidrone. That is going to be your core fire team. 5 is going to be, you know, anywhere between 2 and 3 Unidrones and some Nexus operators. Nexus operators are very much kind of like, they get shit done. You can take them in hacker profiles. You can take them in engineering profiles. They can even be lieutenants. So they kind of just are like this low level, they get things done. And then the Unidrones are created by the Combined Intelligence, same thing with the tags. Essentially, the Evolved Intelligence is kind of putting itself into a little bit into all these. Onyx is very good at remotes. And the Unidrones have tons of profiles. They, on their own, are not very good. They're cheap for what you're getting, but their stat line is pretty middling with like 11 ballistic skill and worse close combat. But they discover things really well, and if you put them in a core fire team, they're suddenly shooting at, you know, ballistic skill 14 with a lot of shots, and then you can stick them with an Evo hacker, and then that really starts pushing them up. And again, since they are REMs, they have 2 states of unconsciousness. They can go dogged, and if you stick a Nexus engineer who counts as a Unidrone, so it's a pure 5-man link, even if you bring like these Nexuses just there to engineer and pick the Unidrones back up, you actually have this fire team that's really remarkably durable, even if its stat line of 1 armor, I believe it's 6 BTS, you know, that it doesn't look like it's going to be very durable, but because you can manipulate it with those engineering and really using those fire team rules to your advantage, can be very powerful. So that's usually you're going to be starting most of these teams, or most of these lists, with a 3 to 5 man team of Unidrones, and then you're looking to pick up a Harris or duo of usually some kind of tag or Umbra. The last unit that I kind of like want to talk about is Bit and Kiss. And I want to talk about them because they kind of springboard into a lot of the strategy what Umbra or Onyx is pretty good at, which is their hacking network. So Bit and Kiss it was a human who totally wasn't mind controlled. Do not worry about it, guys. He totally came over to the Evolved Intelligence
Totally cool.
willingly, and she, yep, totally on her own free will is like, yep, I love these aliens now. They didn't like take my chip out and rewrite it and put viruses in me. But essentially, she has a peripheral kiss, and they have a profile where they can shoot out their pitchers. And every time you activate them, you shoot 3 pitchers out if you want to, at least 2, but up to 3. Which is so powerful. You just get a network out immediately. She's a very good hacker. Most anyone who can take a hacking device, like the lowest willpower is 13, most are 14 or 15. So they're very, very good hackers. The Umbra are very good have very good hacking abilities. And you make this hacking network that is fairly cheap. A lot of your cheaper profiles for a lot of Onyx units is their hacking profile, because it does, open them up to be hacked in return. But you can really get a really powerful hacking network out without really trying. You also just have a lot of units that also happen to be repeaters because they are, robots in and of themselves. So that's kind of like, I know I just said a lot of words, but when I'm looking at Umbra, or not the Umbra, sorry, when I'm looking at Onyx, I'm looking at building around those fire teams, because you are missing some of those key pieces that you do find in vanilla combined. You can't bring an avatar, you can't bring a speculo killer. So you really are going to lean into those fire teams that bring you back those extra bits of power. But you're not beholden to them. Most of the units, it's really, except for the Unidrones, are perfectly fine not in their fire team. So they're perfectly fine to move up, spend an order or two in their team and then break the link and just start going off on their own. Once it is no longer advantageous for them to be in that link.
Yeah, this is really helpful as always. Thank you, Brady. I don't want to spend too much additional time because, quite frankly, I think you just did an excellent job covering pretty much the entire high level on these guys. I guess for closing out, being that you've fairly new to the game system, right? You've been playing for about a half a year at this point, pretty aggressively. Is there anything that you've learned, like from when you were a starting player, just getting your hands on Onyx Contact Force, to now, that you think would be helpful to tell players that are just starting out collecting Onyx, or maybe even one level pulled back from that? Maybe they are just getting into Infinity and they think Combined Army looks cool. Do you have any, and they want to lean into that, faction? Do you have any tips for those types of players just starting out, like maybe more noobs than me? Which might not be possible because I'm a pretty big noob.
Onyx Contact Force really highlights the strengths and weaknesses of Combined Army. It really is like the shining example of what they're good at and what they're bad at. And what they're good at is, like, even, again, I've been ragging on the Unidrones for being, kind of not great and being a little bit expensive for their stat line, but their cheapest version has a plasma carbine. Every single time that wounds you, you take an armor and BTS save. Like, compare that to most other, just general combi rifles, and it's so much stronger. Combined Army, when you use it proper, when the unit is doing what it's supposed to do, is just raw power. But you're paying for that power, you're really paying for it. So if you try to put the square peg in the round hole, you will kind of collapse because your stuff is so expensive. You don't have that redundancy. And you are missing some key tricks. You don't have any access to smoke. You have very few access to multispectral visors. So you really need to make sure that you know what your list is going to try to do and you execute on it. And usually what that is trying to do is you're going to want to try to get a tempo advantage over your opponent. And I know this is for new players, so saying tempo advantage is really, is probably a little bit more than I should have said. But I'd probably say you want to take the initiative with Onyx. You really want to step forwards and start hitting your opponent. And once you start putting your foot on their throat, you just keep pressing. Push that tag forward and really have it just do the work for you. You don't want to try to play too tricksy unless you really are building into it. And for a new player, I'd say, take your Overdrone, put a Nexus Engineer in its duo, and they literally just walk up the board. Oh, it died? Cool. I heal it back up with the dude who's been walking next to me for free this entire time. He heals up my Overdrone. I reform the link with a command token, and the Overdrone just keeps pushing forwards again. You really want to be taking that advantage as hard as you can. And an easy way to do that to start is to lean into the tags, their tag fire teams.
I think that's excellent advice in general. And thank you, Mr. Brady. As always, you're providing some invaluable insight into the sci-fi world of Corvus Belli. I guess there's only one last thing to do, which is to make sure that we say goodbye to the internet. So say goodbye to the internet, Brady.
I miss you already, Internet.
Please don't leave me for too long. See you later, guys. We'll have another Infinity video up soon. If Brady can still stand with being my friend and being on the channel, so I'll try to convince him to stick around. Have a good time, guys.
Shaky.
See you later.
Bye.